This is your barrel extension, and this is the star chamber. These are the locking lug recesses, the M4 feed ramps, and the index pin. On the inside of the barrel, you've got your chamber, your throat, and then the bore itself. Then down here at the end of the barrel, you've got your gas port, the gas block journal, the muzzle threads, and the crown. I'm gonna teach you about the anatomy of your AR-15 barrel so that the next time something goes wrong with the heart and soul of your rifle, you know the proper nomenclatures to describe the problem with your barrel to whoever you're talking about the problem with. Look, you don't need to be a gunsmith to work on an upper receiver, and you certainly don't need a certification to have an understanding of the basic parts of your barrel. If you've been watching this series since episode 1, then you already know a ton about barrels anyways, but episode 6 here is where we're gonna cover down on just the anatomy of your rifle barrel so that you know what each piece is doing for you when you actually pull the trigger of your rifle. Now, you'll probably notice the white background here behind me today. We haven't had that in the previous episodes of this series, and it's kind of new. But this is a tool for our editor, Ben, from Korean Marksman, to put some diagrams up on the screen behind me while I talk through the parts of the barrel so that you can get a better look at it than just what I'm holding or whatever B-roll CJ hands off. Hopefully, he isn't using this for anything nefarious right now, and I assure you, Ben, your paycheck will reflect. Okay, so let's start at the back of the barrel where the barrel actually meets with the upper receiver, and then we'll work our way forward through the barrel. Now, this big chunk right here at the beginning of the barrel is called the barrel extension. Most people think AR-15s are monolithic or just one piece, and that's not actually the case. The barrel extension is actually threaded onto the barrel blank during the manufacturing process. And usually this barrel extension is going to be made from 8620 steel because it's a low alloy nickel chromium molybdenum case hardened steel. It's possible for these barrel extensions to be made from 17.4 stainless steel, S7 tool steel, or even something simple like 4140 chromoly. But for the most part, the standard is that 8620 steel because of that high surface hardness for repeated bolt locking and unlocking and feeding while resisting cracking from the high pressures that are going down on this end of the barrel. Now, if we look at the back of this extension, the first thing you're going to notice is this star pattern chamber, which you might just hear people call the star chamber. That's the name of this whole internal area where your bolt locks up. If you were to look inside of here, you're going to see 7 deep grooves cut into the steel that are called locking lug recesses. And when you chamber around and the bolt rotates as part of the cycle of operation, the bolt slugs slide into these recesses to lock the bolt before you fire. Now, staying right here on the exterior of this barrel extension, what you're probably noticing are these 2 deep notches at the bottom. These are the M4 feed ramps. Most modern AR-15 barrels use this longer M4 style ramp instead of the old short rifle ramps. They're what helps the bullet nose feed smoothly from the magazine into the chamber of your rifle. If you're having feeding problems and you've already ruled out the magazines as the issue, check your feed ramps. You might find out that there's something wrong with them. Last bit on the extension, we've got the index pin up here on the 12 o'clock position. This isn't anything too high tech or fancy, guys. I'm actually fairly certain that they put this on there to stop the Marine Corps' armorers from installing the barrels upside down. It interfaces with the locating notch on your upper receiver to make sure you're getting the barrel timed correctly. And it's another mechanical connection to help keep the barrel from rotating. What you're not seeing here, however, is the barrel tenon, which is what the barrel extension is actually screwed onto. Typically, your barrel extension is going to be screwed onto those threads at around 120 to 150 foot-pounds of torque, and they're also generally going to be set in place using extremely high temperature thread locker. If you have the right tools and knowledge, you can actually take this entire piece of the barrel off and replace it with a brand new one. But that's not something that we can actually get into here on YouTube, so we won't. This is also where the headspace is set. The distance from the bolt face to the chamber is determined right here when they thread the extension on and then ream the chamber. The only way to test this is with a specialized go-no-go gauge, but Honestly, guys, that's gonna be better left to someone with proper training. If your barrel is manufactured properly, headspace isn't something that you should ever have to worry about unless you have a specialized hand-built barrel that allows for slight adjustments. But if that's you, I'm just gonna go out on a limb and assume that you knew what you were getting yourself into. So right after the barrel extension, we move into what's called the chamber. This is the precisely machined cavity at the back of your barrel's bore where your cartridge sits. If you've ever heard the words around in the chamber, this is what that means. This is where the body of the round is hanging out while it's waiting for you to pull the trigger and send the projectile downrange. So the chamber job is pretty straightforward. It holds the cartridge so that the projectile is in alignment with the bore via the throat. And it also contains the pressure of the round when you pull the trigger so that the projectile is directed down the barrel. This is also why it's going to be one of the thicker parts of the barrel, because it needs to contain all of that high pressure gas repeatedly while you're shooting. If you're someone who really loves to shoot cheap ammo, you need to pay attention to this area of your barrel. If you're having trouble closing the bolt or you're getting sticky extraction, the chamber is one of those areas that you should probably troubleshoot first. If you're cleaning your rifle on the regular though, this isn't gonna be an issue for you. New shooter, I can already hear you. What's that word throat mean, Josh? Everyone keeps telling me about throat erosion. I don't even know where it is. So the throat is the transition space where the bullet leaves the chamber and starts its hobbit adventure down the barrel. So right at the front of the chamber, you have a short cylindrical section of the barrel that is sometimes called a free bore, where the bullet is sitting with no rifling touching it yet. This tapers slightly into what's called the lead, where the lands gradually start to bite into the projectile and spin it. This is a space where the bullet has just a little bit of room to get moving before the rifling starts to do its job, like we talked about back in episode 2 of this series. This gap affects chamber pressure, muzzle velocity, how the bullet jumps into the rifling, and ultimately your accuracy. A longer throat, like in a 5.56 NATO chamber, for example, is safer with hotter mil-spec ammunition, while a shorter throat, like in a 2.23 chamber, can give you just slightly better accuracy with lighter bullets, but it can also spike the pressures. This is where a 2.23 barrel and a 5.56 barrel are actually different. So a 5.56 chamber has a noticeably longer throat, and that extra room lets the bullet get moving before the rifling bites into it. So it safely handles the hotter, higher pressure mil-spec ammunition without spikes in pressure. Whereas a 2.23 Remington, on the other hand, has a shorter and tighter throat that can give you slightly better accuracy with match grade ammunition, but it also means you get a higher spike in total chamber pressure. The easy way to remember this or to think about it is that you can safely shoot 2.23 out of a 5.56 barrel, but you should never shoot 5.56 out of a 2.23 barrel because you can start to have pressure issues. If you want to get the best of both worlds, then there's something called 2.23 Wild, and that's the way to go because it's a hybrid chamber that's going to accept either round. And I know some guys like to buy 2.23 when it's on sale, and other guys swear by 5.56, but then accidentally run it out of their friend's 2.23 rifle. 2.23 5.56 rant out of the way, the throat is also the area that starts to wear out first on your barrel in most cases. Every time you fire a round, super hot, high pressure gas blasts right past the bullet base and starts eating away at the throat. That's called throat erosion, and it's something you've probably heard. It's one of the #1 reasons why your barrel ends up getting what's known as shot out. The more you shoot, the more your throat opens up, just like your group size downrange. But this can take tens of thousands of rounds, so make sure you're checking your fundamentals before you call facts on talking about throat erosion after like 500 rounds. After the throat, we actually entered the bore of the barrel, which is the part that does most of the work stabilizing the round after it's been fired. Now, this is actually a super in-depth topic that I don't want to get too into here because we already have a whole 23-minute video all about the bore, rifling, twist rate, and how barrels are manufactured right here. It's episode 2 in this series, so go check that out if you want to learn more about the bore. I don't have enough time to cover it in depth today. As we continue down the bore axis towards the end of the barrel, you're going to notice this section right here with a small hole drilled into the barrel. Now, this is not a place for you to insert spaghetti into the barrel for easy access later when you need a snack. It's the gas port. During the cycle of operations, as your projectile travels down the bore of your rifle's barrel, it's being followed by hot gas. This hole acts as a sort of vent for the gas to escape the barrel, which pushes back into the receiver, enabling the direct impingement gas system to cycle your bolt carrier group and keep the rifle running in a semi-automatic fashion. The location of this hole actually determines the gas length of your rifle. If you move the hole forwards or backwards on the barrel, you can increase or decrease the amount of dwell time the bullet has after it passes the port, and it directly impacts the amount of gas that gets sent back and the amount of recoil that you feel too. Right around that gas port is a machines section called the gas block journal. This is a slightly thicker and perfectly round area where your gas block is going to slide on and lock into place. You're going to see different diameters depending on the barrel profile, usually a 0.625 inch for your pencil barrels or 0.750 inch for your standard barrels, or even like a 0.936 on the heavy barrels. But it's just your gas block journal at the end of the day. On the other side of that, you might see a little indexing dimple for the set screws on your gas block. This is going to give your screws a nice positive spot to bite into so that the gas block can't rotate and accidentally cover up the gas port. And it also makes it easier to align your gas block too, unless you're CJ.
Hey!
When you're choosing or installing a barrel, make sure that the gas port location matches the gas system length that you want, and that the journal diameter matches with your gas block as well. Mismatching these things means you're gonna have to buy whole new things in order to get them to line up on your barrel. When you're choosing or installing a barrel, guys, make sure that the gas port location matches the gas system length that you want, and make sure that the journal diameter matches with the gas block if you've already got the gas block. Now, onto the end of the barrel here where we have this threaded section. Your barrel probably has a muzzle device on the end of it if you're looking at it right now. Underneath of that muzzle device, however, you're gonna have these threads right here, which enable the muzzle device to be attached or detached to the barrel. For pretty much every 5.56 or 223 AR-15 barrel out there, the standard thread pitch is gonna be 1/2 by 28. That's a 1/2 inch diameter with 28 threads per inch. If you ever step up to a bigger caliber, you're usually gonna see something like 5.8 by 24 instead, but your mileage may vary. Most barrels also have this small shoulder right here behind the thread so that the muzzle device can seat square and be properly timed with the barrel. And we all know that the only way to properly time a barrel is to use a special left-handed shim made in the Czech Republic. If you know, you know. Right at the very tip, literally the last thing the bullet touches is the barrel crown. That's the finished face of the bore at the muzzle. It's usually recessed just a little bit to protect the rifling lands from dings and scrapes. And what it does is actually pretty simple. It lets the high pressure gas escape evenly all the way around the base of the bullet as it exits the barrel. If it's dinged or it's uneven or if it has some burrs in it from really, really stupid cleaning techniques that your drill instructor taught you back in 2006, the gas blows out crooked and your bullet can actually start to tumble or keyhole. Fun fact, back in 2006, Marine recruits on Marine Corps Recruit Depot San Diego were taught to clean the crown of their M16 barrel by removing their firing pin and rubbing the tip of the pin against the crown to create friction and remove carbon buildup from inside of the muzzle device. I'll let you guys stew on that one for a while we finish up. I lived it, it happened to me, I seen it. Guys, just to recap, we've got the barrel extension, the star chamber with locking lug recesses, the M4 feed ramps, we've got the index pin, the chamber and throat, then the bore itself, the gas port, gas block journal, and then the muzzle threads and crown. So that, in a nutshell, is the anatomy of the AR-15 barrel. Now, in a few weeks, TJ and I are gonna head out to the range and we're gonna test some of the cheapest barrels that we can find against some of the most expensive barrels we can find. Let me know down in the comment section what kind of tests you think we should do. And if there's a particular barrel manufacturer that you wanna see in those tests, let us know that too, and we'll get our hands on a couple and see what we can do. We'll see you out at the range. Thanks for coming to episode 6. Only one more left, and that is gonna be cheap versus expensive barrels. We'll see you there. Jesus Christ, what did I write here? You'll probably see if that, should just read my script. Blah, 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 blah.